Mini Ninjas is one of those old gems that very few people know about, and for a game from 2009 it has pretty good visuals and a lot of exciting content, like multiple playable characters, each with their own little backstory, epic boss fights with satisfying quick-time events, weird potions, and a bunch of fun spells. One of them even lets you play as a cute bunny, and you want to play as a cute bunny. I'm not asking. So today we'll dive deep into this bizarre Zelda-like and explore its most interesting features, trying to understand what this niche retro game was all about. I promise it's gonna be interesting. Oh, and just one fun fact to keep in mind. Mini Ninjas was made by IO Interactive. Not their usual style, to say the least. As you watch the video, take a guess why they made this game, and at the end we'll figure out if they succeeded. If you like the video, please consider dropping a like and subscribing. Now let's get started. Like many Zelda games, Mini Ninjas starts with a small cutscene, explaining that everything was great until it wasn't. Storms, floods, and some creepy samurai are now capturing animals. All because of an evil samurai Warlord, who's turning animals into his servants, disturbing the balance of nature. Ninja Master sees that something bad's happening and decides to send some toddlers to sort things out. For some unknown reasons, he sends them one by one, and none of them returns. With only 2 students left, it finally gets to him. The fate of the world now rests on the shoulders of these 2. The main character's name is Hiro, and he can't even walk properly. But since all his friends disappeared and strange samurai are prowling the forests, the master tells Hiro to finish his training and head to the scary-looking castle. Imagining the dangers that await our hero, master gives him a hat. I promise it looks goofy for a reason. This hat acts as an arrow shield and a boat for sailing and fishing. I collected some berries and roots and talked with one of the Tengu. These bird guys will be helping us throughout the game by giving side quests and selling stuff. For those who don't know, Tengu are basically Japanese demon furries. Very scary stuff. Right now I have to go to the dojo, and instead of taking the normal route, I decided to explore the river. The current carried me through a canyon, which led me right to my destination, and even taught me how to fish. What's interesting is that I could have skipped all that by just running in a straight line. This is a recurring pattern in the game's level design, and I'll show you some more cool examples later in the video. At the dojo, a bird taught me the basics of combat, how to attack, break defenses, and fight groups of enemies. For this, the game suggests using jump attacks. After training, I got sent to track down Hiro's best friend, Futo, the hammer-wielding snack enthusiast, who can be found by following a trail of apples. On my way, I learned how to block and gained my first level. Finally, Hiro learned how to run, though it looks kinda silly. Then I found Futo chilling on a cliffside. After learning some parkour, I watched men hug each other.
That's amazing.
And just like that, Futo joined the party. Now I can switch to Futo at any time and smash enemies with his huge hammer. Though it is implied that Futo is great at fighting huge enemies, but more on that later. As for more niche details, Futo collects food a lot faster and sometimes calls Hiro his best friend when you switch to him. Such a cutie. Unlocking a new character also unlocks their own little backstory in the game's menu. It shows how they grew up as a ninja, just for the sake of giving them some of that extra personality. As for Futo, he had always loved his apples, so much that he grew up a bit too clumsy and a bit too thick. Master thought Futo wasn't fit to be a ninja, until Hiro found him a huge hammer, which allowed Futo to finally become a proper ninja, and also Hiro's best friend. Next I learned how to do sneak attacks and what's called a power attack. It costs 1 red orb, and each ninja has its own. Hiro can select multiple targets for insta-kills, while Futo rolls around and then smacks the ground. The bird grandpa sent me to a temple where the exact same old bird gave me a magic scroll. Now's the time to mention that Hiro is a rare ninja gifted with what's called Koji magic. Koji is an actual thing in Japanese folklore, but without getting any deeper, he can cast spells using the hand seals, yeah, just like Naruto. During the day, Hiro practiced with his friends, and at night, Master taught him how to use Koji magic. It works great as a backstory, but doesn't make much sense gameplay-wise. Master taught Hiro how to use all the spells, while the intro says that magic has been hidden away in the ancient shrines, so now we have to find them. Actually, the first spell does exactly that. It summons butterflies to help find all these spells. That's how I found the very first shrine and unlocked the spirit form spell, the one that lets you possess animals. They are great for sniffing out collectibles and sneaking around, but otherwise, imagine playing as a slow, fragile frog. Not exactly game-breaking. Or at least that's what I thought, but it will have its moments later in the video. All this concludes Hiro's training, so it's time to say goodbye to Master and meet the first group of enemies. Since all the samurai are cursed animals, defeating them simply breaks the spell. It isn't just for that sweet 10+ rating. The game actually expands on this mechanic later on. At the end of each level, you get to see some stats, with the most important one being the Kuji scrolls. If you missed a shrine with a new spell, here game lets you know about it and gives an option to backtrack. On the next level, you see a group of samurai burning some village. This is where you'll have the first encounter with the samurai captains. Despite being bigger than the regular samurai, these guys are absolute cowards who just yell at their men. Captains will run for their lives when left defenseless, but if you chase them around, they might turn and do this scared backward swing. You probably think, what's the point? But for me, these guys make samurai encounters a lot more fun and really distinguish many ninjas from other games in the same genre. Looking at some early concept art, captains were originally designed as menacing, dual-wielding warriors. I think the shift to a goofier design was the right call, especially since it shines in many later cutscenes. A bit further, I found a group of spearmen, having problems with Freddy Fazbear. This is game's way of saying that not all animals are helpless. If you possess a bear, you can fight back and even roar to briefly scare the enemies. What's weird is that whether you possess a small frog or a large bear, you get only one heart. Any sort of damage instantly pops you out of the animal, which makes this fighting style feel more tedious than anything else. Right after that, I found a shrine with a fireball spell. It is an extremely generic concept, so it has a little twist. Sometimes the fireball doesn't explode. Just for the memes. Then I rescued the first lost ninja. Her name is Suzume. She was brought to Master along with her favorite flute, which she uses as a weapon. And her picture can be found in the corner of Hiro's room. Don't ask me why he put it there. Suzume can play her flute to stun the enemies, which is an extremely strong ability, but it doesn't work like you'd expect. Enemies don't get stunned just for being in the radius, they have to also be actively targeting you, which doesn't make it weak, just weird. She also uses her flute as a propeller when sailing. Getting back to Hiro, in my first shop I bought a recipe for a healing potion and an extremely useful arrow shield potion. Both will be very helpful throughout the game, and on later levels I'll get to buy some weird and funny potions as well. Next I found a cool tornado spell and had the first serious encounter with the most annoying type of enemy, spearmen. Everyone knows that spears are overpowered, and these guys are standing on a bridge, so there is no way around them. You can only throw stuff at them or use magic, which is what I did. Fun fact, if you re-enter this level from a checkpoint and come back to the start, all the villagers stay in a circle, menacingly. Gotta love the jankiness of old games. Another nice detail is that you can see the next level from here. This is where you'll find that exact scary looking castle. It is also where you'll encounter a giant samurai. Now this guy is an actual threat, since he can one-tap you on a hard difficulty. Hiro's blade doesn't do damage, and killing them with magic is a bit unreasonable. This is where Futo comes in. Because of this weird tip card, I thought I had to fight them with jump attacks. But the real method is much simpler. You just keep attacking until you see a prompt to hit them on the head. This way they have almost no way of fighting back. Deep in the castle I met the first boss of the game, and since the combat system is quite simple, boss fights are designed as small puzzles with quick time events. Here we hide behind the column, A comically large sword gets stuck in it, and jumping on the sword triggers the quick time event. Hiro runs along the sword and hits boss in the face, then absolutely humiliates him by pulling down his pants. Boss falls down, pulls his pants back up, and this story repeats until he dies from cringe. Poor guy. After defeating each boss, we get a funny cutscene where one of the samurai captains explains to the Warlord that another boss has been defeated. The Warlord bullies the captain and spoils the next boss. And I tell you, the next boss will be something special. But first we have to get to him. Between bosses are these chill exploration levels where you unlock new spells and ninjas. All I want to cover is that they all have a clear main path that constantly branches off into secret routes for spells and loot. Then game seamlessly guides you back on track. When I was a kid, that made me think this game was open world, and I still get this feeling sometimes. That's how good it is. Anyway, I climbed on top of a waterfall where I found a cool lightning storm spell and then a mediocre camouflage spell. The lightning storm spell summons a cloud that strikes enemies and freaks them out. The camouflage spell just turns Hiro into a bush creature. I called it mediocre not because it doesn't work. In fact, you can straight up walk in front of enemies. I just think it's hard to justify this spell when game already has a bunch of great stealth options, like crouching and possessing animals. Oh, on this level I also found out that Bo is an actual killing machine. While running, it swings its head around, which does damage and makes quick walk of samurai. Then I made my way to this game's Anor Londo, a huge canyon you need to climb, filled with archers that shoot explosive arrows. I know it's not a castle, but the experience is similar. At the top of the canyon I found another character. His name is Shun. He's quite overpowered, having a bow with infinite arrows and a strong power attack that can blow up groups of enemies. Shun has always been quite a special kid, constantly jumping around, even in his divers. But when it comes to archery, he shows calm and concentration. He also grabs ledges funny, uses his bow like a paddle, and often mumbles something as he sneaks around.
The clap of my ass cheeks keeps alerting the guards.
Shun gets a well-deserved A tier among the other mini ninjas. Unfortunately, Shun cannot deal with the next, very nasty type of enemy. These flying guys are called evil monks. They shoot these melody spheres that can turn animals into samurai. So you have to target them first. The twist is that they don't take damage unless you deflect their magic. If you miss time to deflect, you'll get stunned. Luckily, their magic is completely countered by the arrow shield potion. Next comes the level that haunted my dreams, the graveyard. You can't imagine how scared I was to go there when I was a kid. The graveyard is swarming with ghosts that are invulnerable to all sorts of damage. For me, the real nightmare fuel was the sound that they are making. The fact that you can still see hearts beating in their chests. So, how do you defeat them? In the center of the graveyard is a shrine, which holds the Sun Rays spell, the only way to fight ghosts. I think this is a perfect moment to explain how you actually get new spells. It's not just about finding the shrine, you also have to find an anemone flower somewhere nearby. I had hoped this flower was somehow tied to a cool piece of Japanese folklore. Unfortunately, all I could find is that Japanese anemone is known as the flower of the dead and commonly included in funeral arrangements. What's neat is that instead of being near the shrine, this anemone is in its own little temple right in the middle of the graveyard. It makes you wonder if the developers wanted to show what this flower symbolizes, or maybe they just wanted to mess with us, surrounding this particular flower with a bunch of scary ghosts. Anyway, I banished all the ghosts with my new spell and moved on to the next level, which is another samurai castle, but much more interesting than the previous one. First of all, there are multiple ways to enter it. You can brute force the door, or read the note left by Suzume at the start of the level. Oh wait, that doesn't look right. Well, Actually, this note mentions a secret passage in a tree trunk near the castle. You can take it to sneak inside and even get a small extra cutscene. Because the castle is full of large buildings, you get to roleplay a real ninja and complete this level without ever being seen. Though the stealth part is a bit confusing. You see, in this level and a few others, the game implies that you can and probably should skip enemies by taking the stealth route, while at the same time you're actively encouraged to save all the animals and defeat all the samurai for these juicy XP orbs. And since leveling boosts your stats and unlocks a cool ability, stealth just becomes a fun gimmick with no practical use, aside from sneak attacks. They are cool. Another interesting thing about this level is the ambience. It hints at the very specific gimmick of the boss you're about to face. Just take a listen. If you still haven't guessed, you'll definitely get it now. Yeah, this smelly fella weaponizes his own farts. The strategy is to get close, turn his farts against him and follow it up with a slap while he's gagging. Then you have to dodge attacks until this big guy lets out another homing fart. Rinse and repeat until he finally suffocates. The Warlord once again bullies the poor captain and spoils that the next boss will have a water theme. Okay. On the next level I unlocked a strong sonic boom spell and a wind wall spell. The boom spell stuns all enemies around Hiro and barely costs any magic. The wall just reflects arrows. Fun fact, the developers hate archers so much that this spell is actually the fourth way of deflecting arrows. Outside of having the hat and an anti-arrow potion, you can just deflect arrows with well-timed attacks. So adding this wind wall was a little unnecessary. After a bit of exploring, I found another lost ninja named Tora. He's the second most useful character after Shun, mostly because of his special attack, as it can be used to quickly run across the whole map. Also, I feel like his attacks are faster and do more damage. Tora is canonically a smelly tiger cosplayer, runs on all fours, makes cat noises and that sort of stuff. I won't pretend to know how his weapons are called, but he made them himself. And it's actually extremely enjoyable to fight samurai as him. It's a shame Tora doesn't highlight items like actual animals do. I think having a keen smell would suit him well. Talking about the smelly stuff, on this level you can buy a recipe for a burping potion. It just stuns enemies though. I just unlocked the spell that does the same thing, so it would have made much more sense if this potion also did some poison damage. This level also introduces a new type of enemy, the summoner. Instead of turning animals into samurai, they hold a portal that summons samurai directly from the Warlord's castle. Only Hiro can defeat them by mashing a button until the portal explodes, though enemies can interrupt this action, so it's best to scare them off with the lightning storm spell. Then comes a cool level where you need to enter a flooded castle, guarded by a strong current. For this you need to catch a giant koi fish. It will help with the current, but not without putting up a fight. While this fish gives me a trip around the village, I'd like to remind you to please consider subscribing if you like the video. It truly means a lot. Inside the castle you'll encounter yet another type of samurai, but this one has a very strange design. They randomly teleport around, briefly hover in the air, then land a powerful attack. This attack is unblockable, uninterruptible, and unlike the giant samurai, you can't counter them with a specific ninja. I am not even sure if there is an intended way to fight them. What works for me is to jump over their attack, stun them, and follow it up with a jump attack. Or you could just bully them to death, if you feel like. Up next is a flooded room and a boss with some serious height insecurity. The idea is to get him to break these red pillars. Each time he breaks one, it triggers a QTE, probably the most satisfying one in the game. It is just so cool seeing Hiro dodge all these attacks while balancing on the pillars. Each time you land a hit, it makes the boss shorter, so you have to find a new pillar at his face level so he can break it. Repeat all that until he just can't handle being 5 feet tall anymore. On the next level I rescued the last lost ninja named Kunoichi. There is not much to say about her. She wields a spear because she doesn't want to get close to people. That's it.
Ooh.
When using her special attack, which, by the way, has an incredibly long wind-up animation, Kunoichi spins and cuts through crowds of enemies. Man, if only there was a better way to deal with crowds of enemies. Like some spell or an explosive arrow. You get the point, right? On top of that, while every other ninja has a descriptive name that fits them, Kunoichi is just a term for female ninja. So I feel like the developers just ran out of ideas on this one, which is unfortunate. Further in, I found the Ice Storm spell and probably the most broken Time Slow spell. Hiro pretends he's a clock, then enemies slow down so much that they barely move. The only downside is the brightness filter it adds, and since you find this spell on an already bright, snowy level, with this filter on top it just gets way too bright for me. I also got a new potion that sets weapons on fire, which sounds cool until you realize it doesn't set enemies on fire. I don't get the point. Yeah, it makes attacks unblockable, but I am still disappointed. What's nice is that here I reached the final 15th characters level, so we can briefly touch on the leveling system. It mostly boosts stats and how many enemies Hiro can one-shot with his special attack, but the final level is unique. It upgrades the Spirit Form spell, allowing Hiro to possess basic samurai. They fight just like Hiro and have tons of health, essentially making them invincible and undetectable. You can even blow up portals. Enemies wouldn't mind. Yeah, it's unfair, but by this point, Hiro is overpowered anyway. The next castle is beautiful, snowy, and the boss here is a birdman. The gimmick is stealth. You have to hide in spots of deep snow and attack from behind. This triggers another epic QTE, where you end up riding the boss across the sky. It's a terrible idea, but gets the job done. When Birdman is low on health, he lands on top of the castle, where he can be finally finished off. After defeating the Birdman, the game transitions into an extremely fun Avalanche section where you slide down the mountain, desperately trying to outrun the snow. What's surprising is that the way down doesn't feel linear. It almost seemed like I could go anywhere, but just wasn't fast enough and kept dying. After a while, I finally got good, escaped the avalanche and unlocked the last spell, Meteor Storm. This thing does so much damage that I don't even need to switch to Futo to defeat Giant Samurai. Another great news, you can buy alcohol here. I am sure Hiro is old enough for that. So now we are finally ready to face the final boss. When I made it to the Warlord's castle, it suddenly came to life, and after climbing all the way through the burning, moving castle, I entered the final boss arena. Unlike the other bosses, the Warlord's fight does not have any quick time events. It's a magic duel. Warlord uses the same spells as we do, which just confirms that hiding all these spells in shrines was a total waste of time. The strategy is to break his protective spheres with Koji spells. So I drank something just for courage and started spamming ice and meteor storms while drinking mana potions. The Warlord tried to fight back, flying, summoning samurai, trying to bind me, but in the end he still got absolutely wrecked. All the samurai turned back to animals and returned to the forest. The balance of nature was restored and ninjas returned to their village. The samurai warlord has been defeated, but no one saw if he actually died, as he fell into a huge crack. But since we never got a sequel, let's just pretend he blew up and died. All this brings us to today's question. Why would a studio famous for games about a cold-blooded, bold man make something like Many Ninjas? Well, apparently they just needed something they could play with their kids. Did they succeed? Of course they didn't! If you want to play something together, you make a co-op game, you silly! Interestingly enough, I think this game was meant to be a co-op. If you pay attention to the concept art in the credits, most of it has at least a couple of friendly-shaped ninjas. Given the lack of endgame content, I'll assume they just didn't have time or resources to implement the co-op, which is genuinely sad. Playing Mini Ninjas on split screen would have definitely fixed my childhood. Oh, right, before this video ends, we still have one last question. Why did I make this video? Well, if you couldn't tell, Mini Ninjas is a game very dear to my heart. And especially now, when the prices of RAM and other PC parts are at an all-time high, I just wanted to remind you that there are still a lot of incredible games, like Mini Ninjas, that will run just fine on all the hardware. Okay, to be fair, even though this game costs like $1, it is still not the best example. It doesn't work on modern systems. You'll have to run through some hoops. I promise it's extremely easy. If you are on Windows, you have to follow this Steam guide. And if you are a penguin who can't stand the word agentic, choose this version of Proton. I use Arch, by the way. If you enjoyed the video, please consider smashing that like button and subscribing to my channel. Oh, and one last thing. YouTube thinks that you might like this video. Go check it out. And take care.